I'm Michael Assard. I'm the singer for the Contortionist.
Thank you for this opportunity. We really do appreciate you sitting with us today. So first of all, how are you doing?
Doing great, doing great. We're about a little over 2 weeks into tour.
Yep.
Just ventured into the UK, spent the rest of the time in Europe. So.
Oh, fantastic. Have you had much chance to be around the festival, or have you just arrived today?
Just arrived today. We've been here for about 2 hours now.
Oh, wow,
So,
yeah. So not had much chance to see any bands. Or do you have any chance to see any bands?
Yeah, I'm really good friends with Bleed From Within.
Yep.
And then I'm also really good friends with Sixth. We just did a headliner tour in Australia where Sixth was actually our direct support. So today they're headlining where they're direct support. So it'll be a cool little shift.
Yeah, fantastic. So you're good friends with them, then you get a lot of back and
Oh
forth.
yeah. They're the best guys. The best guys.
So you'd consider the tour that you've just been on quite a success then?
Yes,
quite great.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So how do you find doing festivals compared to gigs?
Well, festivals, it's a little more chaotic. Obviously, there's a lot more bands.
Yeah.
I like festivals just because there's more to do and it's a lot more entertaining and you can meet a lot more people.
Yeah.
Prefer headliner shows in the sense where you can kind of fine tune a lot of things. We get to show up early, we get to sound check, we get to make sure everything's in order. And I feel that's when we put on our absolute best show.
Yeah.
Is when we get to do our headliner shows. We get our own stage production, we get to do all those things.
Yeah.
Whereas with a festival, you kind of have to play within the bounds that they give you.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing because you get the opportunity to play in front of a lot of people who don't necessarily know who you are sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And it's anytime you do anything that puts you outside of your comfort zone, you're always going to grow, which is great.
Yeah.
But I do prefer the headliner sets just because I know we can give the crowd exactly what we want to and give them a bigger and better show.
Fantastic. No, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Have you got many more festivals to do this season?
The last one we have to do is, I believe, Resurrection in Spain.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Fantastic.
I think it's us. It's going to be us, Scorpions, and Megadeth on main stage. Yeah.
Wow, that's quite a lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, must be stoked for that.
Yeah, very excited.
Brilliant. Okay, so how do you find the UK metal scene?
It's amazing. It's great. The UK is kind of where because we've been over here, I believe this is our fourth time. Every other time we were doing support tours.
Yeah.
The UK was really the first portion. I mean, back then it was still part of Europe, so I was gonna say it's the first portion of Europe, even though I guess now it's technically not.
God, yeah.
But it was the first kind of portion on this side of the ocean that kind of picked up on us and. Made it feel like whenever we'd play a show, it was like, oh wow, like these people are really into us. Whereas some of the other countries, like say maybe Germany or something like that, were a little bit slower.
Yeah.
Except this time around, Germany was incredible. Like, now that we headlined, they were wild and crazy, and I was like, well, this is a pleasant surprise. But the UK it's always amazing. Scotland is kind of what I view as kind of my home away from home when I'm over here. I have a lot of friends that are based out of there, and every time I go there, I get to hang out with them. The crowds are always amazing, so it feels good to go there.
Fantastic. So, in terms of sort of like your tours and everything, have you got any like kind of crazy stories of things that have happened to you on tour?
Oh Lord, I mean I've been touring for close to 14 years now, so there's a lot of crazy stuff. We've had tires rip off the van. We've had van crashes. We've had, made it to a show with about 3 minutes to get on stage and play. I mean, there's so many crazy stories. To me, I think one of the coolest points, not necessarily crazy, but one of the coolest things is this band before I joined, about 2 weeks before I joined actually, they did a tour with the Deftones. And I was able to go out and see it, and that was all good. But it wasn't until about 2 years later, after I was a permanent fixture and we had released an album and stuff, I actually got to meet Steph Carpenter, the guitar player from the Deftones. And to just sit there with somebody who I had idolized as a small kid, and I had a Deftones poster on my wall in like 5th grade.
Yeah.
So to have like somebody on my wall and influence me that much to become a musician, sitting there fanboying to me about my album and asking me questions about certain things and like thanking us for even putting him in our thank you. So the fact that he even looked deep enough to look at what we wrote in our booklet, like
Yeah.
that was kind of a surreal moment.
Yeah, no, it certainly sounds. I can't imagine how that must have like felt, whether to have your idol idolizing over you.
Yeah, it's bizarre to say the least. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, you recently released your album Clairvoyant last year, was it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
September.
But how did you feel that was received?
Amazingly. Usually, because it's kind of a question that gets asked, and the only way I can really gauge the success of an album
Yeah.
is album sales and turnouts for shows.
Sure.
And they're only getting bigger and better. So it's
Okay.
all things are on the up. I mean, we just finally headlined Australia for
Yeah.
the first time ever. The shows
good.
were great,
Yeah.
great turnouts. Finally headlined Europe for the first time.
Yeah.
Turnouts were great. We did a headliner in the States right before this. The best numbers we've ever done, some of the biggest crowds we've ever had as a headliner.
Yeah.
So everything's going great, and yeah, our label's happy, we're happy.
Okay, so I mean, how about if you look at the album as a sort of like on a musical like note? Forget the sort of like numbers and everything. How do you feel personally about the album? Do you feel there's anything that you'd want to do differently, or is
Every album we want to do something different. So I mean, the only reason we ever finish an album is because they push us out of the studio. And I mean that's I've never been a part of an album where we didn't leave going, oh man, I wish we would have done that.
Sure.
But that's what you save for the next album.
Sure.
So there's always things you want to change, and the job is never done. At least for us. I don't know how other people do.
Yeah.
I mean, if I sit without listening, because I don't really listen back to the album
Yeah.
at all. I just kind of let it grow, and we play it live all the time.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it's always evolving, and by the time I eventually listen to it again, I go, "Oh wow, that's what it originally sounded like."
Fair enough. So you change the songs whilst you're playing live at all?
A little bit, yeah. We do nuances
Yeah.
and change melodies, and we'll change riffs. Every time we go to get to our rehearsals, we change stuff. We add vocal melodies to parts that there weren't.
Yeah.
We'll change guitar riffs, because to us, I mean, there's no rule in place that says you can't. I mean, sometimes we piss some people off, but because they like hearing a part a very specific way. But
Yeah.
to us, in order to play the songs, we tour year round.
Yeah.
We don't stop touring. Since I've been home for 4 weeks since January.
All right.
And we've just nonstop touring. So for us to stay interested in the songs,
Yeah.
we're always changing stuff and trying new stuff. We improv live. I'll change
Yeah.
melodies on the spot when I'm on stage.
Yeah.
We come from more of a jazz background where that's acceptable.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the metal scene it isn't very accepted, but
Okay.
it's what we like to do. So.
Well, that's a shame actually, because like I mean, I definitely feel that there is something in sort of like being able to have an experience only once and feeding off and helping to things to evolve. I definitely back that. I keep forgetting to like look into who said this, but there was someone that said that an art is never finished, but you are only abandoned.
I believe
Certainly
it
says-
was
Oh, do you know?
Da Vinci. No, was it Leonardo?
I don't know. I
think
need
so.
to look into that.
I actually I should know this because our keyboardist says it all the time.
Oh, really?
In one of our studio updates, I used the quote.
Yeah.
As I say, Eric always quotes, and then whoever it was, to kind of create this weird little extra degree of separation between the quote and myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Leonardo.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
No, it just reminded me of that quite a bit. Okay, so it's also, I mean, did you have any favourites from that album, or any songs that you?
I still love playing all the songs.
Yeah.
Reimagine tends to be the biggest song live, and that's, I guess, another thing that's amazing about this album is how quickly fans picked up on it and attached themselves to it. Because we'll play songs that the band's had since, I think Exoplanet came out in 2010. So since 2010, so 8 years, that people don't even sing along to, and then Clairvoyant's only been out for, let's say 10 months, 9 months, roughly around that, and the whole crowd singing along. So it's crazy to think how quickly some people have attached themselves to it.
Yeah.
And to me, with the album, the thing that I'm happiest about is how deeply people have attached themselves, especially to the last 2 albums since I've been in the band, because the subject matter is, it's very important to me because it came from a selfish part. It came from a very selfish place.
Of course.
and it was something that I wrote in as a way to cope and to heal and to move past something that I wanted to move past.
Okay.
And people have attached themselves to it, and I've heard, I mean, honestly, to make something that came from a selfish place and to have somebody come up to me and tell me that it helped them beat their battle with addiction,
Yeah.
or that I just met a guy in Salt Lake City not too long ago who said he had stumbled into one of our shows, watched us play, said he didn't have any money, and I gave him a free CD. And he was a homeless drug addict at the time. And then he came to a show a few years later, and he said he was sober for a year and a half
Oh, wow.
from that incident, from taking the album, listening to it. It resonated with
Yeah.
him, and he had a stable job, was living in an apartment, like in things like
That's
that, like
incredible.
these fleeting moments that I don't really think about,
Yeah.
that can change something for somebody else. That's the craziest part about all of this.
Oh, certainly. Um, don't feel like you have to or anything, but you mentioned that there was a sort of like a motivation behind this. There was some bad things for yourself. Did you want to discuss that at all?
But yeah, I mean, so Language was an album that I just lost my best friend to drug addiction, who spiraled out of control after his mother had lost her battle with breast cancer.
Yeah.
So to me, I wanted to write a positive album. So that album is very more uplifting than not. Obviously, you have to have a bit of contrast and a bit of shift in an album to make it seem a little more interesting.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was a very positive album because I wanted that in my life.
Yeah.
So it's about the mother son, which is a lyrical reference in the album, is a metaphorical symbol for a mother and son relationship in the nurturing light to
Yeah.
grow. Clairvoyant is the flip side to that coin, and it is the darker side to addiction, and it shifts perspectives from an addict's perspective to somebody else's, and the people around them. And that was just kind of, I mean, it was kind of my final way of being like, okay, obviously he was my best friend since the time I was 4 years old, so he was a big factor in my life. Um, so it was kind of my way of trying to do right by him, and kind of cope with the situation in my own
Yeah.
artistic way, I guess you could say. Um, and to see that resonate with other people and to keep them from going down the path that he went down
Yeah.
is, I mean, life accomplished right there. You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
even
No,
just do that
exactly.
to a couple, to one person.
Yeah, no, certainly. I mean, yeah, art saves, and you've definitely got some really good stories from that. I'm glad that you're hearing these stories if it's making that kind of effect
Yeah.
and everything. Um, well, I really want to thank you for like sharing that story with us. I think that's kind of an important part of it. It really adds a human element to these things, and if it's making that kind of like impact, then that's good to shed light on because
Yeah.
it means more to people. I just want to finish on just asking a kind of question that it's more to do with. We at Noise, we quite like up and coming bands, kind of things like that. There's a lot of bands that we feel just don't get the appropriate amount of exposure.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask if you had toured with anyone or noticed any bands that you feel are small, or just they're really good stuff. You think they're amazing, but for whatever reason, they're just not getting the shout outs that they
Oh
deserve.
yeah, there's tons out there. Right
Cool.
now we're on tour with a band called Palm Reader, who's based out of the UK.
Yep.
Amazing band, amazing band. They just put out a new album called Braille. It's amazing. Can't say amazing enough when I mention that band. So that's definitely a band worth checking out.
Yep.
Let's see, I'm trying to think of a few others. It's the U.S. There's a band called Tooth Grinder who we've toured with a bunch. Really good friends of ours. Really awesome, kind of. They're a mixture of some metal and some rock.
Okay. Cool.
And then a lot of times we're touring with bands that we look up to, so it's like people should know about them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But even like there's bands like there's a band called Nothing More who's big in the U.S. and they're just starting to make their name over here.
Yeah.
And that's a band like I don't know why. I mean, they will be at the top of the food chain soon enough. I mean, they tour with like Stone Sour and Papa Roach and Breaking Benjamin, so they're like on their way to becoming a
Yeah.
very big mainstream success. And every ounce of it is deserved because musicality wise, they're a very sneaky band with how technical they
Okay.
are.
Yeah.
And they put on one of the best live shows I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they're some of the most amazing human beings I've ever met in my life. So every ounce of, I guess, every ounce of accomplishments and
success. Yeah,
everything. Yeah, success. Yeah, sorry, that's the word I was looking
yeah,
for. Every ounce of success they get is as deserved as it should be. Yeah.
fantastic.
Totally just made no sense there, but no,
No, I think it makes
hopefully you
perfect
guys
sense.
get what I'm saying.
Brilliant. In which case, then, that's everything from me. So I just want to thank you for your time today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your festival and all the best of luck with all the rest of the
Thank you
tour.
very much for having me.